The Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security serves Montgomery County in times of need. The office is located in Gaithersburg, Maryland, at the Public Safety Headquarters. Here's Director Dr. Earl Stoddard to tell us more about this important agency.
So the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security is the county's effort to recognize that when we have large disasters, we need a sort of central point of coordination that can both help make sure that we're not siloing between not just county government agencies, but also we're working with our private sector partners who are often involved in these emergencies. WSSC, PEPCO are often involved in the emergencies in Montgomery County. And so the county recognized that we need to work together with all of our partners across the board during these troubling events and make sure that we're providing consistent messaging to the public, we're addressing the needs in a strategic way, making sure that we're aware of all the needs that are coming up in the different places.
The emergencies can involve natural disasters such as hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, and earthquakes, but also fires, chemical spills, shootings, acts of terrorism, and cyber threats.
We have what we call the Emergency Management Group. There's actually about 350 people on that group, representing, I want to say, 85 different organizations. Many of them are county government agencies, but we work with nonprofits like the Red Cross. We work with the major utility providers. We work with our hospitals. And so it really is a broad swath of municipal, local, state government partners, as well as all the nonprofits and private sector partners that have a stake in the game. We've really gone out of our way to make sure that if there's an agency who's ever been involved in an emergency, if they're not already on our group and an emergency happens, we make sure they're part of our group for the next one, because we spend all of our days between these emergencies hopefully making the emergencies easier to respond to by putting in, developing plans, doing trainings and things like that. The office in its current configuration was actually formed in 2008. It was a merger between the then Department of Homeland Security, and the Office of Emergency Management was actually part of the fire department, Fire Rescue Services. And so they were merged in 2008 under County Executive Leggett. He recognized that we needed to sort of bring these parts together and raise them up to make them, put them in a better position to influence all of the other partners within county government during emergencies. We're a relatively small office. There's only about 16 people, contractors and full-time personnel working in the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. And we rely largely on coordination and communications and partnerships. We have our traditional public safety partners, which are obviously police, the sheriff's office, fire rescue. HHS plays a huge role, Health and Human Services plays a huge role because they play a major role both in our mass care, which is our sheltering operations during these events, but they also work with our healthcare provider partners who we know are critical as a definitive source of care whenever there's an emergency where people are hurt. We work with our animal services. We also have a program whereby we do sheltering of pets in the same place, in the same building that we do sheltering of people, because this is really a big post-Hurricane Katrina recognition that we need to be able to have people stay with their animals if we expect that they're going to evacuate. We administer the Continuity of Operations program for Montgomery County as well. So we work with every single one of the departments to make sure that they have a Continuity of Operations plan that allows them to operate during austere or conditions where they're limited on resources or personnel, or their buildings damaged. We work with every one of those agencies to make sure that they're individually prepared, and then we're collectively prepared together with our nonprofit and private partners to respond. And so if there's a partner out there, we've probably worked with them. We go from the smallest offices like the Office of Consumer Protection or our libraries, all the way up to the big agencies, all the way across to the WMATAs and Metro and the major utilities. So we are pretty broad in our outreach. I meet with my local counterparts in jurisdictions throughout the state. I meet with my local counterparts and state counterparts down in DC with COG and the National Capital Region. I sit on the Homeland Security Executive Committee and meet with sort of the senior decision makers from many of the counties throughout the National Capital Region, and we make sort of broad decisions about regional direction. We're also incredibly fortunate by virtue of being part of the National Capital Region that we do receive a significant amount of federal grant funding that does help support many of our efforts, and we try to make sure that we're good stewards of those taxpayer dollars as well as our local taxpayer dollars to provide the most effect and most benefit for our residents and the visitors and workers, federal workers in the National Capital Region.
The Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security not only works within the D.C. metro area, but helps with national emergencies, such as those caused by hurricanes Irma and Maria. The office is a department of the Montgomery County Executive's Office, but works with the Montgomery County Council too.
County Executive puts forth a budget to County Council. We actually fall underneath the Public Safety Subcommittee, so we meet with them regularly on a whole host of issues. They provide us critical feedback, but they're also really supportive because they'll often help us push when there may be a partner who's not necessarily working with us as much as we would like, and they're really good about giving a voice to the fact that we need to be collaborative in our efforts with our private partners, and they can often help us bring those partners to the table. But they're also incredibly supportive. I've had conversations with a number of the council members about, and they're always, what do we need to give to you, or what else do you need, or how can we support you, or how can we get messaging out there? They're really, really good about amplifying our messages, pushing things like Alert Montgomery to the public, pushing things like in fire rescue, we have our Community Emergency Response Team, CERT. They're really good about pushing sort of involvement and engagement there. So they're a critical partner of ours and one that has been very supportive of our efforts.
To get alerts and messages to county residents, the office uses Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, Nextdoor, and Alert Montgomery.
It's probably our most critical tool because we can have people sign up for messaging. They self-select the messages that they're interested in receiving, whether it's traffic or weather or there's a whole host of different things related to sort of emergencies. And then we can provide them the messaging that they look for. We can do email, text, we can do voice messaging. We've used it from everything from traffic to mosquito control. And so we've really pushed it as a tool. The thing that we're really looking to do over the next several months, we really like to start offering Alert Montgomery in different languages. I think Spanish will probably be our first, but we'd like to do a broader swath because we realize that Montgomery County is incredibly diverse. That's something that makes Montgomery County great, and we need to make sure that our systems for emergencies are respective of that.
The office also reaches out to the community through its website, training sessions, and a speakers bureau. In addition to expanding the language options, there are other upgrades planned. One is to add solar panels to the Gaithersburg headquarters.
The project that's going on now is going to make us hopefully power independent, the solar panel project, which is obviously incredibly beneficial because not just emergency management here, the police district station 1's here, the leadership from the police and fire department are here, our Department of Transportation, including the storm operations centers in this building. So we've got a lot of things in this building that provide us great utility every day, but also during emergencies. And so the self-sufficiency of the building, we obviously have generators in the building, but having this extra layer of protection makes us puts us in a better position during emergencies to be functional. I really want to credit our Department of General Services for their leadership on this project and their recognition of how important this building is to the county.
Another upgrade includes the Public Safety Communications Center in Rockville, which houses the Emergency Operations Center. The EOC is where government officials and local agencies exercise direction and coordinate resources during an emergency event.
We're about to go through a refresh of the Public Safety Communications Center. That includes both the 911 Center, but also the Emergency Operations Center. It also has our Department of Transportation's Traffic Management Centers in that building. And so that building's, we're planning a refresh for that to make sure that we have the space, technology, and general capabilities that sort of resource should have. The other big thing for the Office of Emergency Management and Security is we're looking right now, we're actually in the process of upgrading one of our positions to become a volunteer management position. One of the big findings after the Arliss Street fire last year in August was we could do a better job of coordinating, particularly with our local nonprofits, the ones who are in and around our communities during disasters. They stepped up really big during that event, but we could do a better job of coordinating with them and building pre-event planning at the very localist level with some of our nonprofits. And so we're going to bring in a volunteer coordinator, hopefully, that's going to help us 365 days a year coordinate with those groups.
As you can see, the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security is all about partners. As a central agency for Montgomery County's disaster planning, response, mitigation, and recovery, it's pivotal to our community.
We take very seriously our responsibility, and the county residents should know that they've got some of the best public safety and first responders anywhere, and so they bring tremendous capability to the county, and they bring tremendous heart to what they do.